Today we're going to talk about how to get kids to be more active, to go outside and exercise. That seems to be more of a challenge than it did when I was younger. I remember in the old days, in the 70s and 80s, you'd get up, especially summer vacation, just get up, go out with your friends, go on an adventure. Your mom would say, just come back when it gets dark. There's a lot more leniency, a lot more adventure back then, a lot more physical activity. At the same time, though, I think that parents had the Ivan Drago mentality of parenting.
If he dies, he dies.
So I guess people were tougher back then, and if you hear stories about what your parents or grandparents did, obviously we know they hiked both ways uphill to school in the snow and all that stuff, but you hear some of the adventures and things they went on. If you did things that your parents or grandparents were allowed to do when they were younger with your own kids, you'd probably have your kids taken away from you. So things really have changed. Maybe too much a swing, the pendulum, and too much in the opposite direction these days, where we're kind of hovering, protecting our kids too much. I'm grateful for the advances we have in our lifestyle. I love technology.
Yes, I love technology.
I really do, but one of the negatives of that is that we find ourselves being a lot more sedentary and kind of lazier, not very active. So I want to talk a little bit about how we can counteract that. Before I do, let's show you what it used to look like around the early 1900s. I came across these pictures of playgrounds and recess time you would see in schools. Check these out. This is frightening. These are like 30, 40 feet up in the air. Hard asphalt, dirt ground after, none of these nice wood chips and foam mats and stuff you see today. And you can see there's been a trend, obviously, in recess, PE classes, things like that. They're kind of put on the back burner. They're done away with because they're not deemed as important, or there's not the budget, or for safety concerns, whatever it might be. There's a variety of reasons. But I think kids really do need some time to blow off steam, take breaks, and I think a lot of them would be labeled with learning disabilities less frequently if they had more time to get some physical activity in. Speaking of dangerous playground equipment, as I was looking this up, I came across this picture and it brought back a ton of memories. We used to get this thing loaded up with every kid we could, go as fast as we can until they started falling off. I went through so many sneakers and knees in my tough skins from playing on this thing, but I think it's probably a good move that we're safer today on playgrounds and at schools and parks than we used to be, but still we got to be more active. Let me first just say I'm not trying to bash the younger generation with this, like grumpy old man in my day.
And that's the way it was, and we liked it. Nowadays, everything's got to be better and safer.
Now, I totally understand why this is happening. When I was younger, I remember in the late 70s, my cousins got this cool technology. It was called Pong. When I went to their house to visit, and I was just amazed. This is what video games were like when I was a kid. Over time, they've progressed to the point where today, I just saw a couple weeks ago a trailer for this new Star Wars video game. Check out the difference here. So I hope young people today are grateful for what they have. We had 12 pixels to play with, and they've just got amazing technology these days. In fact, here's my message to you.
Earn this.
Okay, so back to exercise. A couple years ago, I was visiting Kenya, and we went by a big school. They were having recess. It was very interesting because they didn't have any equipment. It was just this huge open field, and they had a couple homemade balls, but they were doing like tag games, soccer, all kinds of things, just running around. They were all very active, having a great time. And I noticed also a lot of these kids would walk or run to school long distances. I noticed there were not any overweight kids. I couldn't find one, and there was probably like 100 plus kids there. And I asked someone about that, and they said, oh, we don't have any here. Now, I understand a lot more goes into how someone looks versus their physical activity. There's genetics, their nutrition, a lot of socioeconomic factors, all kinds of things. But I just thought it was interesting that these kids were so active, and I didn't see anyone obese or even overweight among any of them. Some of the things you can do, encourage your kids to go outside and play. Go hiking or camping with them more often. Even if it's just going out in your yard and throwing a football or a frisbee or playing some game outside, that can make a big difference. Also, if you sign them up in some sort of a sports program, whether it's soccer or basketball or tennis, any sort of thing where they're physically active and moving around, that's going to be great for them. Even if it's just they want to go rollerblading or bike riding, whatever. So encourage that type of activity and they'll benefit from it. Some other things that are important to do is to set some time limits when it comes to TV watching, computer time, and video games. If you don't, it's just so easy to get sucked in that and just have a very sedentary life. It's so easy to let technology be the babysitter. You know, sometimes it's like, oh, I'm going to be a good parent, I'm not going to let the TV babysit them. But I can't tell you how many times I put on a video or tell them to go look up something on their iPad. One of the most important things you can do is to be a good role model when it comes to health and fitness. If your kids see that you are active and enjoy being outside and doing things, they are more likely to do so. One area that I have not done very good in that I regret is being a better role model with my kids, spending time with them, teaching them sports and things like that. I remember a couple of my kids, I just assumed they'd learn a lot of that stuff, and you go to play catch with them and you throw them a football and they kind of flinch and turn around like that because they're not used to catching. So just simple things like that. Just spending time with them, enjoying physical activity is going to make a big difference. Also, if you can help them find something that they're passionate about, it's going to be so much easier. If you're punishing them, making them go exercise or do something outside, no one wants to do that. But if you can find a sport or an activity that they love, that'll make all the difference. So I just want to remind you to look for ways that you can help your kids be more physically active and less sedentary. I know that's a challenge in these days with all the luxuries and advances we have, but that'll make a big difference in their life. I hope you enjoyed these videos. Feel free to like and subscribe and share them. When I get to 100 subscribers, I'm going to wear my fancy peacock shirt. You're not going to want to miss it. So just dangling the carrot out there for you.